Welcome to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. I'm Sharon, your resident skeptic who asks all the tough questions. And with me is Jennifer Neal, our manifesting maestro. Whether you're rolling your eyes or raising your vibration, we dive into all things manifestation, mindset, and energy from every side. Hit subscribe, settle in, and get ready for spirited debates, surprising experiments, and laughter on the journey to creating a life you love. Welcome back to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. Today we're diving into one of the most energetically charged seasons of the entire year, Christmas. Whether you celebrate it or not, the energy of this session is loud and it brings up giving, receiving, belonging, nostalgia, old wounds, expectations, absolutely all of it. And for some people, it brings up stress, consumerism, pressure, and let's be honest, a lot of emotional landmines that have nothing to do with energy and everything to do with family history and busy schedules. So, Jennifer, lead us on to this very hot topic.
Exactly. Everything you said was bang on. I think we've all felt it, which is why I think this is the perfect episode for today, because the holiday season shows you your frequency in full blown right in front of you. You can't deny it. It's one of the clearest emotional mirrors I think that we get all year. So let's dive right into why Christmas triggers us. It has triggered all of us.
Right.
Right? You've felt it. I've felt it in the past, in the present. There are triggers around Christmas, good and bad. But here's the thing. Christmas isn't just an event. It's a frequency amplifier. Whatever emotion is already living inside of us gets louder in December. So if you feel abundant, it feels magical. If you feel overwhelmed, you feel swallowed alive, never enough time to do all of these things. And if you're longing for connection, it feels like that longing is on a megaphone. And
Okay.
Hallmark has done a really good job of making us feel that.
Yeah, and all those Hallmark romances that we start to see as well at Christmas time. So, isn't that also just because everyone is busier, everyone's spending more money, and every commercial is telling you what your life should look like that handsome guy who's selling you a Christmas tree?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the story that culture, our story, our families, the stories that we're told about what Christmas is supposed to look like is definitely part of it. But the emotional amplification goes deeper for me. So holidays trigger your earliest programming, your childhood Christmases, your family dynamics, the roles you used to play, the expectations that you have inherited. Like, for example, what my mom put on for us, I now believe that I'm expected to do exactly the same thing in the same way. And your nervous system remembers Christmas and it remembers December.
Okay, so this kind of has me thinking, that excitement we have on the first day of school. And to me, end of August, beginning of September always has that new energy of fresh pencils and fresh notebooks. So are you saying that you think the season of Christmas itself has an energetic signature here too?
Totally, it does. Like every tradition does. And that's why you walk into a house that smells like cinnamon and pine, and suddenly you're 6 years old again. Like my mom used to buy my sister and I this incense from Crabtree and Evelyn. You can't get it anymore. It was called Noel. And the minute Noel came out, December the 1st, like we were in good moods. So the energy of memory mixes with the energy of expectation, and that can mean chaos.
Okay, so that part I understand. Sometimes people do regress during the holidays, particularly around family things. Some of it's good and some of it not so good because old patterns do tend to come back a bit.
Totally. So that's why I think it's a frequency mirror.
Okay.
Whatever still needs upgrading, whatever still isn't fixed yet, it shows up wrapped like a Christmas present that you didn't even ask for. It sits right there under that darn tree
Great. So basically, the holidays expose the emotional stuff that we've been avoiding.
with bells on.
Okay, so let's look at it from giving because people feel obligated to give at Christmas, and sometimes it feels quite performative. Like, look at all the gifts I bought.
Totally. I love that word performative, by the way. Like,
Isn't
that's a
that a
big
great
word.
word?
That's
Yeah.
a big word for this time of the day. Um, yeah, totally. Listen, that's where frequency divides into two directions for me. Giving from joy and giving to please, or giving to prove, or giving because you feel it's expected or not enough, that feels draining. Giving from joy should feel expansive. It
Mhm.
should feel awesome. And, we've been through this recently. If it doesn't feel awesome, that's got to tell you something. Shut it down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that, right? Because oftentimes the joy is in the giving, not the receiving of gifts. I mean, we hear that all the time.
It's true, though. Don't you feel that? Do
Well,
you feel that way?
well, it's not only just at Christmas, right? When you give to a
Yeah.
friend because you want to, because you care about them, because it just gives you that, spike of dopamine or a little bit of pleasure to give to somebody. We talked about this before. It's not just a
Yeah.
gift, even something like a compliment. So,
Yeah.
any kind of giving, I think, does feel joyful and expansive.
It
We,
should feel
yeah,
joyful and expansive.
and I also should receive in a manner that is also joyful and expansive.
Totally. My daughter often says to me, "Mom," because we're celebrating out west this year because my daughter is working at a ski resort, and so we're schlepping, and I do use the word schlep because it sounds a bit negative, but we're schlepping everything out west this year. And my daughter said to me, "Mom, like, let's pare Christmas down this year. Like, you don't need to do what you normally do." And I can't help myself, I have to say. And I said to her, "Honey, I can't help myself. It's such a joy to give to you and your brother.
Yeah.
I can't help myself." And so, but you're right. Like, you can give someone a $10 gift with a frequency of such genuine love, and it will land more powerfully than any $200 gift will ever land that is wrapped in resentment or wrapped in pressure.
I've got to say this as someone who travels a lot and lives internationally, for me, the joy that I have being in another country to then find a gift for someone that shows them my experience in that particular country so that they get a flavor or a taste of it.
For sure.
Like, I find this joyful to me and I like the uniqueness of it as well. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's not, a wrapped up candle, something that I've picked up in a market in Portugal or
Yeah.
from a
It's
back
amazing.
in Japan or what have you. So,
It's amazing.
I think what I'm hearing you say is the emotional intention obviously matters more than the action, right?
Listen, again, I'm not an expert in psychology, but I am a believer in energy. And when we're talking about manifestation, like, let's again bring it back to why we're here. We're talking about manifestation. We want to get all the great things in life that we want in
Right.
this short life we have. Authenticity is an energetic state. So think about this. When you give to please, or you give because you think you should, or you give because you think it's expected, you are actually broadcasting lack. Please approve of me. Please like this. Please validate me. Please know that I'm a good person underneath it all, right? And when you give from joy, you're actually broadcasting overflow. I have enough. I am enough. I love sharing. There's more where this came from,
Yeah,
right?
I've got to admit, the draining kind of giving, I felt that. I'm sure many people have felt that.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there. And I will tell you that when you feel a lack of time, again, you live in that area of lack, and I was there for years. I had so much on my plate from work, from kids, from life, that one more thing, even if it was to get mistletoe, felt like too much.
Yeah.
And so, we have all felt it. The holidays magnify these feelings. Christmas is a frequency test. And giving, ask yourself, am I giving from alignment or am I giving from expectation? And it matters.
Okay. So that's the giving part. Let's talk about receiving now. And I just mentioned it really briefly, right? Receiving is, a hidden energetic skill, I think, because half the world feels really awkward when somebody hands them a gift.
Yeah. Receiving is actually one of the highest frequency acts that we can as humans learn to do.
Really?
Because it's vulnerable. It says, I'm worthy of this. I am open to this. I let good things in. And I'll give you an example. I've talked about this book before, Nancy Levin's book, Worthy. She talks about how, think about when you get invited to someone's house for dinner or for a drink or just for a visit. What's the first thing you think about when you get an invitation?
What can I bring?
Bingo. Bingo. It's like, what am I going to take to them because they asked me over? I'm not good enough to show up by myself. I've got to bring something with me.
I hear Emily Post rolling in her grave right now.
Yeah, totally. And so when I was reading that book, and this is years ago, I actually forced myself to show up to my friend Penny's house because she had a pool. And so she would invite me every day because it was hot and it was summer. And I would actually show up and say, Penny, I've come empty handed because I believe my presence is enough. But I still had to say it to myself,
Right.
right? I had to explain why I didn't have something.
Okay, this is
So,
kind of
yes.
mind blowing. So let me just give you a bit of a cultural piece here
Oh,
because
great.
I've got some awesome friends, Australian friends, and they're always saying, just come over, just show up. And I'm Canadian and we don't do that.
Right.
I don't show up without an invitation, right? I don't show up unless we've made plans.
Without a gift.
I just don't show up.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult place for me to be
Yeah.
to just show up. And I have to say this, I mean, one of the most entertaining things about all of this, and we used to live in the same building, is again, they show up barefoot and walk right in. And I will go to their place and I'll knock at the door.
Yep.
And every single time they'll say it's open. And every single time they'll say, why didn't you just walk in? And I'm like, I don't just walk into people's houses, right?
It's stories. It's these stories we carry around with us. So, right, like that's exactly the point. Resistance to receiving, even an invitation to walk in without knocking,
Yep.
even tiny little things like that, they usually mirror a deeper resistance to receiving in life.
Hang on. So you don't think it's got anything to do with cultural norms?
Well, yeah, I do, but I think the cultural norms come from a deeper resistance to receiving life.
Okay. Tell me
Right? So
more.
money, love, support, compliments, help, you name it. We are trained to not be worthy.
And Christmas just
Yeah,
exposes it.
totally. Totally. Like how many I had a big Christmas party last week. We had 40 people. Every single one of them brought a hostess gift,
Right? Very
which
Canadian.
very Canadian, right? Which was lovely and they were gorgeous gifts. But you know what? I wanted to say, and I didn't in the invitation, please don't feel you need to bring anything. But people want to.
Yeah.
And you could tell by the gifts that they brought that they really put some thought into them, that they were favorite things of theirs. So I really think we're taking something away from people when we block the giving, right?
Okay. And in the receiving, the awkwardness is a sign of what? A blocked frequency?
Well, a blocked receiving channel. Like if somebody hands you a gift, like I just said about last week's party, and your first internal reaction is, oh, you shouldn't have, or I feel guilty, or this is too much, that's a frequency pattern. Let's just
Or
say thank you.
or it's social conditioning.
Yeah. Both. It's both. It's both. Social conditioning creates frequency patterns. It creates our energy, right? And we're not good around it. So that's where our work is if we want to manifest all the good things in our life. That's why we're here.
Okay, that's fair. So how do people fix that?
Practice. Practice accepting, practice saying thank you, practice receiving without rejection energy. Receiving is a muscle, just like everything else. The holidays just show you how strong or weak your muscle is. Just say thank you.
Okay. All right. And you know what? Thank you's good in any situation, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it is.
So let's now talk about belonging, family systems, and old stories.
Okay, let's talk about those things. Right? Because Christmas is the Olympics of emotional belonging. Like, and listen, as a separated slash divorced woman, I really had to wrap my head around the 24th and the 25th of December because everywhere you look, all deadlines, those are the days, guys. And when I couldn't be with my kids on those magical, perfect Hallmark days, felt like a failure. So I had to really reframe what Christmas looks like and how it's celebrated and what it means because it's all just stories.
Yeah, and the Olympics of dysfunction as well as
Totally.
emotional
We
belonging.
Yeah, like we can do a real number on ourselves, and that's what this season tends to do to us, but it doesn't have to be like that. But it puts you back into the family story that you thought you outgrew. Or maybe you knew you never outgrew it and you want to hang on to it so badly.
I say it's sort of interesting. I mean, you give some great examples, but the first time I actually spent Christmas alone after
Overseas.
yeah, I was overseas. It was still COVID-y happening all over.
Yeah.
I happened to be in Paris because I'd been traveling around because had been newly freed, let's put it that way. And it was one of those things where literally I was walking around thinking, how miserable am I going to be on the 24th of December? And, I walked into a little place, a boulangerie, got myself some bread, some pate, a fantastic dessert, bottle of
Yeah.
champagne, and I was babysitting a cat. And I thought, let me find a sappy movie and sit and watch
Yep.
a sappy movie and have my own Christmas dinner. And you know what I
Good
have
for
to
you.
say? It was hard,
Yeah.
but it was probably the most peaceful
But
Christmas.
did you die? Did you die?
Not yet.
No, I have a girlfriend who is also separated, divorced, and their tradition was always that the kids were with her on Christmas Eve. It just happened that way. Well,
Yeah.
this year, for the first year in 22 years, the kids wanted to be with their dad on Christmas Eve. And she is floundering. She's like, I don't know what to do with myself. And I said to her, are you kidding me? You can have the sexiest Christmas Eve on the planet. You can go to Casa Loma. For anybody that doesn't know, Toronto Casa Loma is like castle. You can go to the most gorgeous steakhouse in the city where all the Christmas lights are around you. You'll look like you're in the set of a movie. Once we reframed that for her,
Right.
she booked it immediately. Sometimes we just need a reframe, right?
Okay. So this is interesting. So really it's moving away from unresolved family patterns and into a new pattern for yourself.
Yeah, you have the capability. This is what we're talking about. We all have the capability
Mhm.
to think about this from a different perspective. That's all we're talking about. Reframing, a new story, a different perspective, a new vantage point, rebrand your moment.
Right.
We're all capable of doing this, but we don't.
So it's interesting. I mean, you've got to rebrand the moment, but that really means letting go of whatever your story was about the holidays.
Well, instead of letting it go, how about we just create new, right? It's totally possible. And sometimes we need an extra set of eyes on this.
Okay.
Like I did with my friend. I said, listen, you can have the sexiest Christmas Eve going. You and your boyfriend book this, go there, do that. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a new outfit, she said.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the empowering part. You can always control the dynamic, and you can shift the frequency and the energy you bring into it. Totally capable. All of you. You're totally capable of doing this.
Okay. So what things should we be noticing, particularly around family? What do you think we should be noticing around family perhaps?
For me, and that's all I can speak of is from my perspective, the minute you feel let down, the minute you feel something's not as it could be, should be, was, that moment right there can go. Have you ever seen the movie Sliding Doors?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that, a wonderful movie. I think everybody should watch it. You have a vantage, you have a vortex or a, what do you call that? A crux. What do you call that? In a fork in the road. Like the minute you feel shitty, you have an opportunity to say, okay, what can I do to not feel shitty right now without controlling the thing? Like sometimes you can't make the family come back for dinner,
Right.
right? Sometimes you just can't control that. But what can you do? What
Mhm.
can you do to make yourself feel better? It's all about feeling better. We're back to the emotional guidance system.
Right. Okay. What else should you notice?
Okay, questions to notice. So, do you feel like you're too much? Do you feel like you're not enough around your family, maybe, or around your friends? Do you have that feeling? Do you shrink sometimes? Make yourself smaller? Do you overperform sometimes? Classic, I'm guilty of that for sure.
Right.
Do you revert to your childhood emotional role? Well, I always played this role, or she always did that. Do you brace for disappointment? Do you brace for chaos? Do you feel obligated instead of connected?
Oof, that's a big one.
Yeah, like these are big ones. These are things that I think about. Like, I don't feel connected right now. I feel obligated to go. You don't have to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to go. So these reasons and these reactions tell you basically what your story is, that you are still running in that subconscious mind. But again, it's the key is awareness. It's always awareness.
Yeah. Or, sometimes they also tell you who the people around you are. Because I think Christmas brings out sometimes the best and sometimes the worst
For sure.
of the people around you.
Yeah, but here's the empowering part, and I said this before. You can't always control the dynamic, but you can shift the energy you bring to it.
Okay, explain that a little bit more for me.
So, if your family has always been, let's say, for example, that you've always been known as the fixer, the peacekeeper, or the quiet one, or the responsible one, or the lively one, like I'm always the lively one, you can energetically retire from those roles, not by announcing it, but by embodying a different emotional truth. So if I always show up as the life of the party and that's the role I play, I can walk into the room, sit down with a glass of wine and not be that personality anymore. I
But
can
that,
make that choice.
but doesn't that cause friction?
Yes, at first. Um, but because you've upgraded your frequency, listen, maybe I overreacted and over animated and was the lively one in the past because I was trying to cover up something
Okay.
or make people feel better. And maybe that frequency just doesn't match my life anymore or the person I want to be anymore. So maybe it stabilizes and people just adjust around it.
So I'll say that's actually sort of an interesting perspective because people do change.
They
And I
totally
think
do.
the biggest challenges around the holidays is the expectation that who you were 10 years ago is who you should be today. And the toughest part when you change is not you as a human changing, it's everybody else around you wanting to keep you where you were.
Totally. And a great example of that for me is the role we play, many times it's the woman, as the food person in Christmas. And, I used to get so overwhelmed. I used to say it's like planning a wedding every single year by myself
Yeah.
and doing all the stuff by myself, the wrapping, the shopping, the cooking, the planning. It's exhausting. And so, one year I said, guys, I don't think we're going to be able to do the whatever it was, homemade tortilla. And of course, the people around you go, "Oh, come on, mom. Like, you gotta make the homemade tortilla. Like, I just don't have it in me this year, guys. We're gonna buy meat pies from the local butcher." It's that kind of stuff, right? We are allowed to come to the party and say, "My energy will be better if I buy the butcher pies versus make the homemade tortilla." We're allowed to do that.
I gotta say, I mean, I was never someone who was really big on Christmas, but my mother went all out, and God bless her for doing it. But when I had my own home, I refused to put up a Christmas tree. And then one year I found an Eiffel Tower with all of the lights, and it was about 6 feet tall, decided, and it's shaped like a tree and it had
Yeah.
space on the bottom to throw gifts underneath. And I decided that that was going to be my Christmas quote unquote tree now and forever. That's how I decided to change how I viewed it. So it's less of
Yeah.
a I don't want to do that traditional thing anymore and more about I want to do it my way.
Totally. Everybody,
Yeah.
we all have free will and free choice, right?
Oh,
And remember, this is an energy game,
right.
people. And I'm saying this to myself. I'm not being like I'm not dictating. I'm saying, remember, this is an energy game that we are all playing. And we are the author and the owner of our own energy.
Okay, so let's talk about when Christmas feels lonely or heavy. So, people who don't love Christmas, I'm among them, and sometimes feel lonely or disconnected or maybe even financially stretched.
And this is important because for those of us that love Christmas and start it November the 1st, not December the 1st or even December the 31st, this is important because loneliness during Christmas is not a verdict. It's a frequency reset, right? Like you don't have to be lonely at Christmas.
Okay, so this sounds poetic, but what does it really mean?
When things feel heavy, it's usually because the life you're meant to grow into is pulling you away from the life you've outgrown. And And what you're feeling is that gap between growth and expectancy or growth and tradition. And Christmas puts a real spotlight on that gap.
Okay, so we talked about that in some respect in terms of expectations around family, but we're also talking about if you're alone. So instead of spiraling, you're suggesting that people should see it as what? A recalibration, for example?
Yes. However, I will also add there are people that want to sit in their loneliness and make you aware of it and love being in the lonely victim place. There are people that want that.
Okay.
But if you don't want loneliness, if you don't want to choose loneliness, your loneliness is not evidence of lack. In other words, I don't have a boyfriend in my life, I don't have children, I don't have a reason to celebrate. It's evidence of expansion.
Okay, hang on a second. Explain that for me.
When you're ready for deeper connection, your frequency can't tolerate superficial versions anymore. So the season feels empty, not because you're broken, but because you're unavailable for anything that's not aligned with you anymore.
Okay, so that's actually making a little bit of sense to me. As we said before, sometimes you outgrow things before you grow into something new.
Yeah.
We talked about family noticing that and you're moving away from your assigned role, but even by yourself, that there's some discomfort in that growing and outgrowing of things.
Yeah. And I mean, I think all Christmas shows us is the distance between where you were and where you're going, or where you are and where you wish to be. And I think the latter is a little bit more common than the former.
Okay. So,
Right? So, for example, if I'm sitting feeling lonely because I don't have a loved one to share my Christmas experience with, all that says to me is I want to manifest a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a wife or a husband or a best friend. All it shows, that gap to me is just a desire. That's it. And then I get my energy tuned up to bring it in. Right?
okay. So, I mean, that's a way to give a gift to yourself, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, I don't suffer fools gladly, but come on. Declare it. What do you want? Why are you grumpy? Why are you lonely? What would make you feel less lonely? And let's start moving our energy towards that.
Okay. So let's talk about how to shift our holiday frequency.
Great. So, if you want to manifest a different Christmas experience this year or any year or maybe next year, there are 3 frequency shifts I think we can all do. Number 1, give from overflow, not from obligation. Okay, so ask yourself what feels joyful, not performative.
Okay.
Hey, there's your word. I
That's what I
used
was
your
going to say.
word.
There's that word again. Well done, you. Okay. Let's
Okay.
look for joyful, not performative.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. What's the next one?
Receive without deflecting. So practice letting in small things. Say thank you instead of you shouldn't have. Let's just try thank you.
Okay. That's a big one. What's the next one?
Number 3, rewrite your family role silently. Nobody needs to know that you've been playing a role in the past that you don't want to do anymore. So instead of reverting to your old emotional script, ask yourself, what energy would the version of me I'm becoming bring into this room or bring into this season?
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, from the practical side, what I'm hearing you say is to set some boundaries, to simplify your plans, maybe don't overspend, and don't try to make Christmas look like a movie when your real life is not a movie.
Well, that too, although I just did a TikTok post reel on if there's total chaos in your life, start looking at it like a movie because we will usually pull our chair up and get the popcorn for movies. So you could reframe it that way too.
Okay. And
But yeah, like,
maybe the movie you want is that, handsome stranger in a town who sells Christmas trees and
yep,
wears a flannel shirt.
totally. And again, I hate that word boundary. I don't even know. I said to my therapist a couple weeks ago, I don't even know what that word means anymore. I would love to just say to people, could you just write a story about what you want for Christmas and then start acting like the person that would do the things you have to do to have that story be real?
Kind of sounds like what you're saying is we need to write our letters to Santa and post them to ourselves.
Bingo. That's great. I love that. Write a letter to Santa about the Christmas that you wish to have.
And maybe even the year next year you want.
Yeah, totally. From here forward, write it. Write it down.
Okay, so
It's a vision.
looking at it this way as a frequency sort of makes the whole season feel a little less chaotic and probably a little more intentional.
I love that. Let's build intentional lives, period.
Okay.
Right? So, listen, as we close out this episode, wherever you're listening from, whether you're wrapped in a blanket with your cat, like I have right here on your lap, or you're hiding in a car and you're avoiding family drama, listen, remember this. We all have it. We all have the drama. We all have something going on right now. Christmas isn't happening to you, it's responding to your frequency. Again, you are attracting this. I hate to tell you this.
So maybe reactions this year are also revealing who you're becoming.
So may your frequency this Christmas be the most aligned thing that you unwrap this year. I just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I wish everybody the best for this holiday season, but we're not done yet because it's a hot topic.
Yep. I think we'll pick this up again on the next episode as well before we take a little break for the holidays. Sounds good. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. If you enjoyed today's conversation, share it with a friend, believer or skeptic. And don't forget to leave us a review so others can join in the debate. Plus, check out Jennifer's TikTok account, Manifestation RX, where she writes daily prescriptions for manifesting your dreams. Think practical tips with a dash of magic. We love hearing your questions and stories, so tell us what you're manifesting or questioning this week. Until next time, keep an open mind and maybe manifest a little magic.